If there is just one thing that I love about this specific build, is that it is a very straightforward, streamlined build that is just all in all about looking amazing with your huge dragon katana that you have right here. I am going a little bit more of for a Ronin aesthetic rather than a samurai, but at the end of the day it just looks beautiful while you are playing this guy. And like I said, there's no really, like, there is flashiness, you do have that weapon skill Ash of War, but at the end of the day it's just a basic warrior, a basic samurai that you can play as a basic samurai. There's not much like going into intelligence, faith, or buffing your character. The ways of buffing our character and actually getting the highest amount of damage possible, because it is going to be possible, at the end of the day it's not going to require quite a lot of preparation. One thing that I do love about this weapon also is that it doesn't uses that much of FP. By all means, if you do want to use less FP, we are going to be discussing about that on the Talismans section of the video, of the gameplay video, but at the end of the day you can be spamming this thing over and over and over again. Just carry like 2 flasks and that's just going to be more than enough. That's going to be amazing. One more cool thing about this weapon is that while you are charging up the weapon, you are airborne. Remember that sometimes there's some airborne kind of Ashes of War that don't allow for the enemy to knock you down. In this case scenario, it is possible. You can still be knocked down by some attacks of the enemy, but the weapon Ash of War has just so much hyper armor that it's very difficult for them to do so. And also it has amazing range and amazing damage. One cool thing as well is that it has blade hit detection, so the damage is not going to be the same as you do, for example, from far away, which at the end of the day it is still going to be amazing damage. It's going to be tremendous damage, but when you're close up to the enemy you're still going to have quite a little bit more damage because of the blade detection. And remember that you can, if you do want to use a point blank shotgun on the face of the enemy, you can, because you have lots and lots of hyper armor. This is 150 builds, and like I said, it's very streamlined, it's very simple, it's just simple as it gets. You have 50 vigor, and then 50 and 50 strength and dexterity. This is a quality weapon. It has bleeding. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any kind of scaling into arcane, so we're not going to take advantage of the bleeding. You can, by all means, cause bleeding into the enemies, but it's going to be more often than not that extra little something that you're going to have floating around in there, but it is not going to be a main kind of side thing in the deal. It's just going to be a consequential little something that it's also only going to be applicable on bosses, because on basic enemies, because of how much damage we're going to deal with this weapon, they are going to die more often than not sooner rather than later, and they're not going to allow you to proc the bleeding. So it's just a collateral little something here that it doesn't matter that much. I want to go for endurance because the weapon is a little bit heavier, and we do want to use quite a bit of a heavy armor. We'll talk about that in the actually about now. We don't require that much mind because, like I said, the weapon Ash of War doesn't require that much mind. Like I said, as for the armor, I am using the Ronin armor set, but that's just the chest piece. If you want to use the armor of Reeds in here, any kind of samurai style armor, it's just going to do the trick for you right there. I'm getting a little bit of messages of appraisal right there. But at the end of the day, anything that allows you to have that roleplay, gameplay style of a samurai. One thing that you are going to have to do is that, for example, you see me here, that I'm using the Armor of Solitude. I think that it fits the overall armor style that I'm going for, but I do want to give that extra 51 points into my armor. So I'm using the Armor of Solitude gloves and the Armor of Solitude greaves, and this gives me roughly around 54 points. I am beyond the 51 points that I want to be on. Of course, the Dragon Katana right here. But also, you will notice that I'm using a wakizashi right here. It doesn't necessarily have to be a wakizashi. I am allocating Golden Bow into this little dagger. It could be like any dagger that you want to, but overall, if we're not going to use it, but I mean, if we already have the aesthetic and the gameplay roleplay of a samurai or a ronin, then it might as well, right? So like I said, I'm not using this thing. We're using just for Golden Bow, and that's it. You can really use any dagger that you want to use in here. Now, the talismans that you actually do want to use as a must, and the talismans that I advise for you to use, some actually cool talismans that you have out there, the ones that are going to increase the overall Ash of War damage is going to be Shadow of Alexander, and also the Ash of War, it's a charge attack, so you can benefit from Godfrey Icon. Both of those guys are going to stack up for a plus 35% more damage, which is nice. The new two-handed sword talisman that you can find on the DLC as you explore, that is also going to increase your two-handing damage by quite a lot. It is not going to increase the damage of your Ash of War even while you perform the Ash of War while you are two-handing it, because it's an independent kind of animation. But at the end of the day, I do advise for you to use this weapon while you are two-handing it. It's better, it deals more posture damage, more poise damage, and this guy gives you around 20% extra damage while you are two-handing the weapon. As for the rest, there are many things that you can use. We have a lot of endurance, so you don't need the Jaw Talisman, but you can use, for example, Carrion Filigree Crest to reduce the amount of FP consumption when you're casting your attack, which is something that I like to spam quite a lot. You can use the the Turtle Talismans, the two-headed Turtle Talisman. It's a new talisman for Stamina Region DLC. You can use Earthree's Favorite +2. There's quite a lot of stuff that you are going to be able to swap around in here. The only two mandatory ones are going to be Shadow of Alexander and Godfrey Icon. The mix of wondrous physics is actually pretty straightforward as well. We have 50 and 50 into strength, into dexterity. The weapon has C scaling in both of them. If we add scaling into our weapon right here, this is 10 into strength and then 10 into dexterity. That's extra scaling that allows us to reach the soft cap of our builds. Remember that the soft cap in Elden Ring is 60. Then we have a hard cap on 80. If you want to go beyond the level that we have right here for this character, it is a nice idea to reach 80 strength and 80 dexterity ASAP as soon as you can, because that is going to increase not only the weapon AR, the weapon attack range, but it's also going to increase the Ash of War damage, because the Ash of War damage scales out of strength and out of dexterity. So these are the two crystal tiers that we are going to use. And there really is not much to say about this build. Usually, if you use the Ash of War properly, point blank face into the enemy, you're going to be dealing roughly from 3 to 5k damage. But one thing that I love about this weapon, and that I didn't mention while we were speaking about the stats, is that if you actually do use the new two-handed talisman, this weapon is going to deal 1k damage per hits when you are two-handing the weapon. And it is a great katana, but since it is a katana, it attacks really fast for such a big weapon. It has amazing range, and even while you are two-handing the weapon, the animation, it's a little bit more of a one-on-one situation where you're the actual pattern of the slice that the weapon performs and the hitbox of the weapon is designed for a one single target that you have in front of you. So you might as well use it one-handed while you are while you're getting muffed. But if you want to continue two-handing the weapon, which is what I advise, you can use the heavy attacks, because the heavy attacks, they actually attack in a wide range and they deal quite a bit of posture damage. So if you're getting muffed, then you might as well use the heavy attacks while you are two-handing the weapon. It's just an overall very straightforward quality build, and it just feels so amazing. The Ash of War, it's great. You have range, you have distance, you have damage, you have posture damage. What's not to love about this build? Anyways, if you like the content, so like and really super appreciated. And also, if you're gorgeous, beautiful person, you're in the gorgeous and beautiful person, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be seeing you beautiful people in the next one. Have a lovely day, and goodbye.